Thank you, everyone, for joining the session on accelerating application development with Anthos. This is a rough agenda for today. We'll have a quick introduction. We'll talk about challenges of application delivery today. We'll talk about application development with Anthos, and then we will get into how enterprises can migrate from PCF using KF and Anthos. Quick introduction about myself. My name is Balaji Rajam. I've been at Google Cloud since 2016. I'm a solutions manager with the application modernization team. First, let's talk about the challenges of application delivery today. We have been talking to customers about the challenges, what they are facing, and they have talked to us about their business objectives as well as their technology objectives. As far as their business objectives go, most enterprises are looking to accelerate time to market for new capabilities and features. And especially in the current climate, costs are on top of their minds. So they're looking to reduce costs as well. How that translates into technology objectives is they're trying to drive speed and agility using automation. They are trying to improve developer efficiency through self-service. They want to have unified operating models across on-prem and hybrid or multi-clouds because most organizations have started adopting public clouds. And security is also top of mind for most folks. So they want to ensure whatever solution they choose has the best-in-class security and compliance. But if you look at those points, traditional software development and testing and deployment has not really kept up with those demands. Look at some of the reasons why it has not. Uh, Traditional enterprise software development was developed for the on-prem world. So it has several limitations when it comes to addressing most modern application delivery models. Uh, Traditional enterprise software development relies on imperative thinking, where things are much more specifically defined, whereas more modern application development relies on a declarative approach. Previously, in enterprises, applications, once they're developed, they go through a security evaluation process. And that is how they get approved for deployment. And that usually comes towards the end of the software development lifecycle. What that means is it becomes a choice between fixing the security issues and going into production. Uh, Enterprises are looking to change that and incorporate security into every phase of their software development lifecycle. Increasingly, companies are also starting to adopt open source software, and that is causing them to rethink how they test as well as deploy software. The typical governance models which are in use within organizations were created for the on-premise world, and those have not really kept up with the kind of rapid deployments which you see in companies who have adopted public cloud, and those also need to change. DevOps Research and Assessment is an organization which does research on these topics. And this is a company which Google acquired a little while ago. They published a report in 2019 after talking to a lot of enterprises about the state of DevOps in those respective organizations. And they had some key findings. The first one was delivering software quickly, reliably, and safely is at the heart of technology transformation, and it really affects the organization performance. Um, Most companies come from the on-prem world, and they bring that approach to public cloud as well, and that is not conducive to optimum performance. So, how you implement your cloud infrastructure really matters. The other one is the change approval process, which are prevalent in enterprises. And those can be pretty antiquated, which goes through many hoops before you can get approved to deploy software. And uh, that has to be reduced so that you can cater to the modern development approaches which are prevalent today. So when the Dora team looked at the organizations and tried to evaluate them, they evaluated them on four key parameters. The first one is the lead time required for deployment. The second one is how often can you deploy. Uh, the third one is how quickly you can recover and change in case of a failure. And the last one was what is the time required to restore in case of a issue. So they broke these metrics into different categories, and based on these parameters, they classified organizations into elite, high, medium, and low. And if you look at the elite organizations, they have on-demand deployments where they can do multiple deployments per day, and they have a change failure rate of less than 15%. And when you come to the low performing organizations, they deploy maybe once a month, or in the worst case scenario, once every 6 months. And they have change failure rates which are really bad. But if you look at the majority of the organizations, they fall in the middle. Around 67% of organizations they evaluated fall in the high or medium category. But all these organizations have a desire to shift left and become more elite in their performance. So this is where developing with Anthos comes in, because Anthos was built from the ground up to cater to these kind of requirements. So Anthos was a result of 15 years of Google's innovation in this area, right from 2003 when Google engineers created Borg, which again became open sourced as Kubernetes, all the way up to 2019 when Anthos was released. So let's see how Anthos enables cloud native development today. The first aspect which a lot of customers are looking at is security. They want separation of duties so that the developers and the activities they do are separated from the activities which the operators and deployment folks do. They want effective vulnerability management and being able to have effective access controls. They want to be able to define their infrastructure both as code as well as the application platform. It allows them to automate the activities which they do so that it is better auditable and it can be controlled better as well. Effective deployment of applications mean that they are containerized so that they can be isolated from other applications, and they are extensible and transparent. And most organizations are concerned about being locked into a particular vendor. So it has to be open standards based. And Anthos satisfies all these criteria. So let's look at how Anthos enables elite DevOps performance today. It reduces the developer platform because it shields the developers from knowing the details of the platform so that they can focus on value add activities. It establishes governance and separation of roles across application lifecycle. And organizations are able to centrally control configuration and policies across applications and teams. It also allows them to leverage existing investments and skill sets because Anthos is based on Kubernetes and it can run on any cloud platform. And it also provides them the flexibility to build, test, and run their applications wherever they choose. So these are a couple of our customers who have used Anthos to increase their DevOps performance. Kaiser Compression is one of the leading manufacturers of compressors in the world. They used Anthos to modernize existing applications on their current infrastructure. HSBC used it slightly differently. They used Anthos to accelerate their software velocity in a hybrid environment. Next, let's look at how you can modernize and migrate your Cloud Foundry applications uh, using Anthos and KF. This applies to both Pivotal Cloud Foundry applications as well as the open source Cloud Foundry applications. So when we spoke to PCF customers, this is well some of the insights we had. PCF came into popularity a few years ago, and it gained a large mindshare with customers, predominantly because uh, developers really love the opinionated workflow. Developers love the fact that they can compile their app, build it, turn it into a image, and deploy it uh, in a short while through a simple command like CF push. But at the same time, operators have been struggling with managing Cloud Foundry workloads. So, for instance, Bosch, which forms the underlying technology of Cloud Foundry, is not as flexible or as general purpose as a platform like Kubernetes. And operators are increasingly getting used to using more declarative approaches to application deployment, and they want that same out of all of their platforms. And most organizations have started to adopt Kubernetes. So now Cloud Foundry becomes yet another platform to maintain. So they're maintaining a Cloud Foundry platform as well as a Kubernetes platform. And especially if you're using Pivotal's Cloud Foundry, It means that you are paying lot and licensing cost or subscription cost. The model of Pivotal is based on application instances. So every time you deploy a new application instance, you have to pay subscription cost to Pivotal. So that essentially discourages architectures like using microservices, because that is predicated on deploying multiple instances of an application to scale up and so on. So, given that, people are looking for better ways to do their application development. So, we spoke to people from different parts of the organizations. The two personas we focused on was developers and operators. And we focused on what are the things which are important to them. So for the developer, they really want an opinionated workflow where they don't have to worry about the underpinnings of the platform. They want to compile, build, and deploy images easily. They also want to be platform agnostic so that when the company decides to move from one platform to the other, they do not have to come back and change something. They also want the option to move to a zero ops model. On the operator side of the house, they really want declarative platform management. Organizations which have moved to public cloud have used things like Terraform to automate and make it more declarative to create the infrastructure. Uh, so they want that same out of their application platforms as well. They want to be able to apply common policies across the enterprise so that they can standardize on how they operate their platforms. They want higher visibility into microservices because enterprises are increasingly adopting microservices, and it is vital to them to understand the information behind those. And probably most importantly, most organizations are starting to adopt public cloud, they are looking for ways to limit their operational cost. And that can only happen if you can have a unified control plane across on-prem as well as public cloud. So this is where KF comes in. KF was developed by Google from the ground up. So what it allows the developers to do is use KF in the same manner they would use CF commands or the Cloud Foundry commands. They can issue a KF command which will interact with all the underlying components of Anthos to provide the same experience which the developers would have when they use Cloud Foundry. Operators, on the other hand, can use all the declarative approaches provided by kubectl and all the Kubernetes tools to manage the platform. So, what is KF? So, the KF is meant to provide developers the Cloud Foundry experience while empowering operators to adopt declarative practices. We allow organizations to move their Cloud Foundry applications to Anthos without causing any disruption to their developers. KF is built by Google from the ground up natively on Kubernetes. We do not use any of the Cloud Foundry components. So that means that organizations no longer have to pay the subscription or licensing cost behind Cloud Foundry, say, implementation like for Pivotal. And administrators can operate the platform using kubectl. And below are listed some of the commands which are supported as part of CF. So when we built KF, um, we actually brought the best of PCF to Anthos. We ensured we have provide a CF-like developer workflow. We wanted to make sure that we are building it on natively on top of Kubernetes so that we remove any of the dependencies from Cloud Foundry. Build packs are a common way how enterprises standardize how their images are built and deployed. So it is very important to organizations which use Cloud Foundry that we provide support for build packs, and that is available as part of KF. And we looked at the commonly used commands from enterprises, and we added support for 40 plus commands. And we also added support for service brokers. And service brokers are the mechanisms which CF applications use to communicate with external resources. Technical support for KF is provided through all Google Cloud support channels. There is no additional cost to using KF. KF support is included as part of your Anthos subscription. It is supported both on-prem as well as on GCP and other public clouds. And standard Google Cloud deprecation policies apply. Let's look at a migration from PCF to Anthos. So on the left-hand side in phase one, you see the enterprise status as of today. right? Where they have CF applications as well as Kubernetes application. And their platform team is maintaining two different platforms. One is Cloud Foundry, and other is probably a container platform like Kubernetes. So that means that the operational overhead is high for the organization. In phase two, when they start adopting Anthos and KF, now they have a single platform to maintain, which is Anthos. The operators running CF application can use KF, and the folks running Kubernetes applications can deploy their applications on a Cloud Run or GKE or Google Kubernetes Engine. As the organization develops a comfort level with Anthos and GKE and Cloud Run, they can slowly start migrating their Cloud Foundry applications from using KF to running natively on Cloud Run or GKE. And we do not mandate that organizations do that within a certain amount of time. They can continue to use KF until they reach the level of comfort where they can migrate their applications over. And in phase four, uh, you see the enterprise has completely moved over from Cloud Foundry applications to Kubernetes application, and they're using Cloud Run and GKE. Let's look now through the various phases of a PCF migration. So there are multiple paths where you can migrate from PCF to Anthos, and we provide different pathways for it for enterprises. No enterprises are built the same, and everybody has their own challenges, so we acknowledge it. So certain enterprises feel very comfortable moving straight away from PCF to something like Cloud Run or GKE, either on Anthos on-prem or on GCP, which is managed by Google. But other organizations have their challenges because migrating hundreds of apps built on Cloud Foundry is not that simple. So they can migrate to Anthos and use KF, which will effectively simplify their operation because they have only one platform to manage, and continue on that pathway of running the Cloud Foundry applications until they feel comfortable moving to Cloud Run or GKE. The first phase of moving your Cloud Foundry application from Cloud Foundry to Anthos is running an assessment. So, as part of the KF tool, we provide an assessment capability. You can run the KF tool against your Cloud Foundry application, and it will actually tell you what if it is a good fit for the KF platform. So in the next slide, you actually see a sample report which is generated by the KF tool. And on the right-hand side, it's actually showing whether the migration assessment has passed or not. The next stage of using KF to migrate your applications is now to deploy those applications. And you can do that through the simple CLI of KF and KF push. And you can migrate your existing applications to Anthos. Uh, the screen shows an example of deploying one of the very popular applications which I use to demonstrate the capabilities of Cloud Foundry. It's called Spring Music, and in this case, we are deploying that application using KF. And the developer experience will be pretty much similar to what they will see with Cloud Foundry. Once you have deployed the application, now you get to the portion where you're operating it. So the developers can use the various command line arguments which are required, which are available to operate the applications which they moved from PCF to KF. And operators can use the KF installation with the GKE and Anthos tools to manage the deployments. So here you see examples of some of the KF commands developers can use to look at their applications. They can use KF scale to scale out their applications. They can use KF logs to look at the logs generated by their application. And operators can use the various UIs which are available to manage GKE and Cloud Run to actually see what the status of our application is. It provides them a single pane of glass for managing both their configuration and policies, both on-prem and in the cloud. So they can look at their configuration and policies, as well as get deep visibility into your applications through services and networking. And your call to action today is please review the resources which are linked as part of the session. If you are interested in learning more about our PCF migration strategy, please reach out to your account team, and please talk to us about how we can kickstart a pilot for migrating from PCF to Anthos. With that, I wrap up my presentation. Thank you for joining me today.